This video is going to be about the Sgraffito technique. And now that you've accomplished making your six-sided cube, you have six great sides to experiment with a variety of surface techniques. And I will break down these next few videos on a variety of techniques to explore. The first one, like I mentioned, is Sgraffito. And Sgraffito is Italian for to scratch. So it simply just means scratching into clay to reveal a color underneath. And you both received a slip from Dutchess Community College. One was a cobalt slip, cobalt carbonate, which is an oxide, and it looks in your container that it came in, it looks like a tinted kind of pinkish hue to it, but it will fire to a deep royal blue. And then you also have a white slip, and that'll fire to a pretty true white. The thing to remember with slips is that they look really matte once they're fired. After the first firing, which is the bisque firing, they'll come out and they'll still appear pretty matte. But the great thing about slips is then once you add glaze on top of the slips and then fire it, it'll create a shiny surface. So even if you were just to add a clear glaze, just a simple clear glaze over top of a slip, it'll make it be much more shiny. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, that you can achieve, even though these aren't glass-like now, they certainly can get that translucent effect when you fire, really putting any glaze. But also keep in mind, this video is not on glazes, of course, but you can put a colored glaze that also work really beautiful with slips underneath. So slips can add a whole different level of complexity to your work. But for now, we're just going to focus on the Sgraffito technique. So earlier, so I didn't waste the time with this video, I used a brush like so. It's a pretty thick bristled brush. And I took my slip that I have. I do not have the cobalt slip. I'm using a red slip that has red iron oxide in it. And the main purpose for that is so you can visually see what I'm doing much easier. So I'm going to bring my cube closer, and you can see I painted two coats. Hopefully you can see the thickness of that. It's not especially thick, but you don't need a lot of coats to have it be an effective way of working with slip. So I did coat that this morning and I let it dry, and now when I touch it, it's not tacky. It's definitely nice and dry. Keep in mind with your cube, I did ask you all to keep your cubes at a true leather hard. And if your hands are sticking to your cube and it's not truly leather hard, you're going to run into some difficulty. So make sure before you begin to experiment with these techniques, your cube is a true leather hard. I can't stress that enough, because you will run into problems. So again, this is dry. And then for the Sgraffito, to merge into that, I have this little simple drawing that I drew out on paper, and then I cut it out. Just a leaf kind of floral design. And I'm just going to lay that on top of this side. And then with your needle tool, you can hold it down. It's a little windy out here. It's a little challenging. But you can just take your needle tool and trace around. And I will show you closer after I'm finished. But if you just take your needle tool and trace that design into the surface, I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just lightly making a little line into the clay. And you could put, you could draw freehand. Doesn't have to be a template like this of a design. You can use a template, of course, because it's maybe easier. So that's that. Oh, I did forget a little spot. It's okay. So that's, take that off. And I will show you. So I just had that design carved into it, just ever so lightly. See, it's not really deep, by no means. And then this is a tool that did not come with your toolkit, but it's called a Sgraffito tool. And it's a loop tool. And it's just, this is a Kemper tool. Kemper's a great ceramic brand. They make wonderful tools. So if you could, I would invest in a Sgraffito tool if you wanted to give that a try. I highly recommend it. The tools aren't terribly expensive. They're $5, $6. You can get one of these tools. I recommend purchasing it online through Bailey Pottery, or West Ceramics would have them in Highland. You might be able to find them on Amazon, online. It's just again, it's like a loop tool. You can see there's one end like that, and then there's another end that's a little bit larger. It's just a metal loop tool that allows for you to scratch into the clay and lift the clay off. So let me just begin, and I'll bring it closer so you can see. And this is just a great way to reveal the color underneath. So a lot of artists will work this way by putting slip on top and then carving in to sorry, I had a little glitch in my computer there for a second. So we're all good. But you can see, so I carved away, and by me carving and using this Sgraffito tool, you can see here that the slip, the oxide slip, the red iron oxide slip that I put on top is now exposed and taken off, and you can see the clay underneath. And this just opens up so many possibilities to carve and design, and then fill in or not, or then fire it like this and use glaze to, after it's bisque, to fill in those areas. And you can just get all these layers, and which adds such dimension, and it can be a really great process to incorporate in your own work. And that's one of the great things about making this cube, right? We do this in the fairly early on in the semester so that you have 6 sides to just experiment with. And I do want to mention here is a good time that slip can be put on all sides. As we proceed in the semester, you'll hear many times that glaze cannot be put on the bottom of something. Glaze is, in essence, it's glass. So it will fuse to the kiln shelf and permanently forever be bonded to the kiln shelf. If a piece has glaze on the bottom, it's fired, it will never come off. Glass, it just fuses. So the reason, we'll go over this in great detail later, but the bottom of work, bottom of mugs, bottom of everything, one side, where this is going to sit in the kiln, that bottom has not, it has to be wiped completely of glaze. There's absolutely no glaze on the bottom. But it's good to note now that slips can be on the bottom. Slip is just pretty much clay mixed with oxides, different colorants. That's how you achieve these variety of colors, endless amount of different colors. But it is, because it is clay and not the chemistry as a glazes, which is glass, it can sit at the bottom of a kiln and not fuse. So it's a little tricky to understand at this point, but you'll hear all of us mention that multiple times. But I want to throw that out there now so you can start thinking about the difference. So I'm just going to continue to carve this just a little bit to give you a greater understanding of how this loop tool can really allow you to achieve really nice patterns, drawing, layers. So you can see closer. You can see that. And this loop tool is pretty great, that you can just kind of do like a stippling. You can do nice, fun, clean lines, or you can really just, I'll come closer and show you, but you can get a really great texture. So you can see it creates like a nice little line texture there. You can just pretty freeform it at the top. You can do little stipples and just take out a little bit. And that is Sgraffito. You don't absolutely, I don't want to make it seem like you have to have a Sgraffito tool to do this. It is a good investment to buy because it is an actual Sgraffito tool, but that's not to say you can't carve into the clay with your needle tool, or even get even more creative and find your own tool around the house. You may have something similar to this that is a loop tool that could work just fine or even better. Simple thing is a pencil that I have here, even the backside of the eraser, you can, oh, that's fun. I literally just use the eraser and it doesn't look too different. It was this mark here and this mark here, and it just pulled the clay just by me scraping that across. So that's Sgraffito. Give that a try and be sure to check out the other videos of more surface techniques.